Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great. Thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate you. It's nice seeing half faces. Okay, so good evening. It is 6:02 p.m. The Board of Trustees of the LaPorte Independent School District is now convened. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. Every student's success is our number one priority. Let's always remember that. As the LaPorte ISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, adopt policy, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and communicate the district's vision and success to the community. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of our superintendent, Dr. Jackson. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience participation is limited to the patron presentation portion of the meeting. Board members may not respond to the public comment section. These proceedings may be recorded, and I specifically ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. Thank you for taking time this evening to join us and for your interest in the LaPorte Independent School District. At this time, we will stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, at this time, I think Ms. Thompson is going to lead us in prayer.
Which I proceeded to write at home and did not bring it, so this is going to be off the cuff. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with grateful hearts, grateful for all the blessings that have been bestowed on our wonderful community. We are grateful for every teacher and custodian and principal and food worker and everyone in between, each secretary and every person who plays a role in our district towards making our students, become great citizens. At this time, Lord, we pray for unity. Unity for our team, unity for our community, and unity for our nation. Please help us as we go through our deliberations tonight to remember that you are working through us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. See, the ones off the cuff are always the best.
You're right.
I think we're going to have recognition now. Huh?
Are you going out there with that? We don't know all of us. Okay.
Yeah, we can all do that.
Good evening, everyone. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, public school employees have worked diligently to maintain high levels of excellence in the face of considerable adversity. Some community-based businesses who have also experienced pandemic-related difficulties have placed the morale of LaPorte ISD staff members above their own bottom line. Smoothie King of LaPorte has not only brightened the days of campus staff members with complimentary smoothie deliveries, this locally owned business has assisted with campus fundraisers and is extending its benevolence by using its resources as we speak to help our neighbors in need through a winter coat drive. For Smoothie King of LaPorte's thoughtfulness, compassion, and generosity, Board of Trustees President Lee Wallace recommended and presents the company and its representatives with the LaPorte ISD Community Ambassador Award. Mr. Wallace.
I'd rather not talk about that. We'll talk about this. Don't anybody get close to me. So, we have Smoothie King. We have some representatives from Smoothie King here in LaPorte on Fairmont. These guys, they're some of our biggest supporters for the district. They've sponsored school. Help me out. Yeah, those things. They started a coat drive, not just for the district, but for the whole community. Just on and on. They're always willing to help us out. They're giving away a smoothie a week, or not a week, after each board member. After each board meeting, we draw a card. And I think tonight's was Miss Weed. Yes. Miss Weed. What they do is they provide a smoothie of the staff member's choice for the whole staff. So when it comes down to the high school, they're working but at this time, I would like to bring up Miss Patricia, who runs things. I know Drew and Mitch would work for you probably, don't they? And Mitch, you want to come up for your brother? Drew Coxey is the owner, and this guy's amazing. He's called me and asked me if he could buy school supplies for campuses. He's bought he's bought backpacks, and they're just incredible. They're always calling and asking me what they can do to help, and I'm running out of ideas. So, but they won't. But anyway, so I wanted to. This is the first time we've done this. We've in the past done the Bulldog Awards, and that was always for a staff member or somebody that was employed with the district or a student. I think. Well, we might even done a student from time to time. But I thought it would be a good idea to bring the community into this. At this time we need all the support we can get. So. You're the initial award. So first we have Miss Patricia. Is it Macias? Yes. Okay. I just want to be sure to say your name. Here's your little bulldog pen. And here's your little certificate. Okay, and Drew, the owner, this guy, he's got, I think, 2 or 3 different businesses, correct? Plus he works in a plant. So he's a workaholic, and the guy that got some of this. And his fiance, she couldn't make it, she's going to be a nurse. So and I think he was a LaPorte student when he was a little kid, right?
Yes, sir. Me and him were both, we both went to Lomax Elementary when we were very young, and then we moved to Barbershop.
Okay, good. So there you have it. Mr. Slate's got a real good story one of these days to tell you about the diaper that he duct taped onto Drew. They live next door to him. Can you give this to Anna?
Absolutely, sir.
You greet me every morning when I walk in there, don't you?
Yes, sir.
He knows what I get. And you can give this to your
Yes, sir.
brother. So give this to him. Let's get a picture.
Yeah, let's get them up here so we can get on with everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the boss.
Well, you are.
And,
With the whole board. Yeah.
And I have a plaque for y'all to put in the store.
Thank you. I have one of the high school, that I wear that all the time.
on.
Can you do one without the flash?
I thought so too.
Well,
Somebody who was ready.
And one more thing I want to say. Patricia and her husband, Martine, I think he has a construction business, so they fed the board tonight. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Yes, sir. You know what I want, right? Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's move on. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Ms. Green?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, we have one public comment. It's from Ms. Desiree Jenkins of 224 North 6th Street, and she'd like to speak to us about virtual learning.
Great.
Ms. Jenkins? Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am, please. Just want to remind you that we typically give about 5 minutes or so, and we cannot respond, but we appreciate you coming.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I came, thank you, board, for hearing me out today and for giving me an opportunity to speak about my concerns for virtual learning. I looked at the last board meeting and it looked like virtual learning was going to be canceled at the beginning of the year, next year. I am not for that. I'm very concerned about the COVID numbers and how it's on the rise. And right now, we have been virtual since March of last year, and I don't feel comfortable sending my kids back to school with COVID-19 being as it is right now. I did see the low numbers, and I understand that. I understand a lot of children are failing because of the virtual learning and not being face-to-face and having those relationships with the teacher. But my experience with virtual, I see a lot that can be improved upon as far as bridging those relationships with the teachers and the students. Now, we have amazing teachers. I'm not saying my children don't have amazing teachers and they're not doing the best that they can, but I'm saying my personal experience, there's no consistency. That's pretty much my main complaint about virtual. There's no consistency or relationships with the children. It's like they're there observing. Now, thank you for that opportunity for my child to observe and learn from our knowledgeable teachers. They're amazing. But when all the kids were virtual, my daughter had a better time, and it was easier for her at school. And this is on an elementary level. Junior high, it's amazing. They got it. They're doing a great job. My son, he's autistic, and he's not having any issues whatsoever. He made straight A's last report card, so no complaints there. Communication is open. But elementary level, I have concerns with the communication as well as the consistency for my second grader. So, like I said, before we rush to cancel virtual altogether, I would like us to revisit ways to where we can improve upon it, because at the point right now, I'm gonna pull my kid out and maybe homeschool if they're forced to go back into school in January. So thank you guys for hearing me out, and Y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that'll move us to item 7, reports. Dr. Jackson, I think you may have a report for us.
Thank you, Mr. Board President and members of the board. Today is certainly a great day to be a Bulldog. Thank you. I'd like to take this time to offer our sincerest thanks to 2 of our board members, Ms. Lois Rogerson and Mr. Dennis Slate, for their dedication to the students and staff of this wonderful school district. We appreciate, thank you. We appreciate their service and look forward to seeing them around the community, and certainly hope to work with them in other capacities in the future. While we're sad to see Ms. Rogerson and Mr. Slate move off the board, we're certainly happy to welcome 2 of our new board members who will be joining the board next week after the official canvassing of the votes, Mr. Chris Murdoch and Mr. Russell Shoppy. Let's give them a hand. We're equally delighted to have them join the board, and we look forward to working with them as well. Last but certainly not least, we are happy to congratulate and welcome back to the board she never left the board, but Ms. Kathy Green on her successful re-election. So the Board of Trustees is elected to serve the public schools and work with the superintendent and the school district as we improve the standing of academics and the overall standing of our district. I have no doubt that we will continue to work together to move our district forward. I know that the public will hold us all accountable for our positive actions as we represent the mighty name of LaPorte ISD. As it currently stands, we have had a great fall semester Board of Trustees. Students are learning, teachers are teaching, and we're all doing all that we can to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19 in our schools. Currently, our enrollment hovers around 7,000 students, and approximately 75% of that number of students are attending in-person learning, and approximately 25% of our students are still participating in virtual learning. We continue to meet regularly with our teachers and our support staff to determine best ways to support them as they work to simultaneously support the learning, growth, and development of students, both at home and in person. Our teachers' primary concern is that they continue to struggle at offering absolutely 100% of their energies toward both settings. It's not just possible to give of oneself in 2 diametrically opposed directions. LaPorte ISD's data shows that, in general, students who are attending classes face-to-face are experiencing progress and success at a greater rate than their peers who have chosen remote instruction. LaPorte ISD administration realizes students who are required to quarantine during the COVID-19 or who suffer from specific documented medical conditions certainly need a method of receiving instruction. Therefore, LaPorte ISD will continue to provide that remote instruction for those students for the duration of the quarantine periods and for those special needs and circumstances. LaPorte ISD also believes that we provide a safe environment for all students. We continue to deeply sanitize on a daily basis. Social distancing is practiced and monitored by our staff, and in an abundance of caution, facial coverings are worn by all staff members and all students in grades pre-K through 12. The health and safety of our staff and students remain our number 1 priority. We can't say that enough. Our teachers and staff continue to give all they have and work as hard as possible to support the students. Communication between the school and home is a constant work in progress. While there are a significant number of students that have proven to be successful through our virtual learning platform, the reality is that a vast majority of our students have not been successful. This evening, Board of Trustees, you will hear from our teaching and learning department, who will share some specific data to simply shed light on the challenges our teachers and our support staff and our principals face as we move forward. We fully realize many will question the district's reasons for making the case for a potential return to in-person learning for all students during a time when COVID-19 cases seem to be spiking, not only in the Houston area, but throughout our country. I would answer that with the fact that our school system has been relatively successful with mitigating the negative impacts of the virus. Our district early on adopted a culture of always wearing our masks and disinfecting and cleaning our facilities daily to help with the to slow the transmission of the virus and keep it at bay as much as possible. I want to just share and deposit my last comments with the board today that I hope that you join me in just giving a full ear to the information that's going to be provided tonight during several of our presentations, but also just a public thanks to our teachers, our principals, our support staff, our nutrition, our maintenance, our bus drivers, and everyone that it takes to make LaPorte ISD the pride of East Harris County. So I appreciate you, and that will conclude my report for this evening. Thank you, Board President. And I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
I don't believe we do. Thank you, sir. Okay. So now I'm going to read our trustee continuing education report, training hours report. Under State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education, I'm having trouble saying that tonight, each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. The board president is required to announce the name of each member who has completed, exceeded, or is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. For the period beginning April 17, 2019 and ending October 27, 2020, all LaPorte ISD trustees have exceeded the required number of continuing education hours. So now I'll read them. I'll read the name first and go from there. So Miss Kathy Green, Tier 2 hours, which is team building and with board and superintendent, she has 3 hours. Tier 3 hours, board development, she has 62.50. And she has completed her Tier 4 hours, which is student achievement with Senate Bill 1566. And I'm not going to say that every time. I'm just going to say Tier 4, okay? Unless somebody has a problem with it.
I think it's great.
Thank you. David Yonda, Tier 2 hours, 3.0. His Tier 3 hours total are 35.50. And he has completed the Tier 4. Miss Lois Rogerson, the Tier 2 hours, 3.0. She's completed 45.25 Tier 3 hours, and she completed the Tier 4 hours. Mr. Dennis Slate has the 3 hours, 3 Tier 2 hours. He has completed 20.5 Tier 3 hours, and he completed the Tier 4. Miss Deanne Thompson has 3 hours of the Tier 2. She has 51.5 Tier 3 hours, and she completed the Tier 4. Myself completed the 3 hours, the Tier 2 hours. I have 25.75 Tier 3 hours, and I also completed the Tier 4 hours. And Ms. Charlesy Wheeler also completed the 3 Tier 2 hours. She had 35.75 Tier 3 hours, and she completed the Tier 4 hours. So as I said earlier, we've all exceeded the required number of continuing education hours, and I'm proud to say that. So now we will move to item 8, District COVID-19 Response Team Update. Hello, Ms. Viator.
Hello. Good evening, you all. Is it okay if I take my mask off?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for taking the time to really hear from our COVID response team. Who knew just 10 months ago we would even be having a COVID response team, right? It's hard to believe I was thinking about that. But really, this is such a big part about what we do now. Of course, academics is always extremely important to all of us. But for our students and our teachers to be successful, they have to feel healthy and safe. And we want to have that type of environment at every campus and every department that we have here. So we just feel like I just want to let y'all know just some pieces. We work very closely with our departments and our campuses, in particular our campus nurses, to make sure that we have communication about if anyone is possibly experiencing symptoms, if there's a possible exposure, if there's unfortunately a positive case that we have to report. So very good communication system as far as that goes. And as far as employees, parents, and students, there's a daily self-screener that is completed, and it's on our website. It's also been communicated. I know our principals do newsletters and things like that. We do some reminders through our HR and business newsletter. So we make sure that all of our employees and our students are well aware that they really need to be self-screening so that they're safe and everyone else is safe. So that's a piece of our communication. The other thing is the process maps that we have for employees and students so that they can navigate what's occurring if they're experiencing symptoms or someone at the home is experiencing symptoms, so they can know just what to do and not report to the campus and to seek guidance. Another piece that's a very strong part of communication is, in addition, if there is a situation that they're experiencing, there is an employee or a student health reporting form. And they can complete that. It's an email to them, or we can go through it if they don't have an email. We also have Spanish support if that's needed. And so they can go in and really let us know about their close contacts, if there were any at the school, or even socially, because we do have families who know each other outside of school, so that we can address all of those needs, and we don't have students or staff at school who may have had an exposure, and so that they can know what to do with their medical professional. So that's a piece. The other thing is if we unfortunately do experience a positive case, we do have some notification systems, and you all I know are involved in that. We want to make sure we clearly communicate so you're aware of what's going on, and our next steps are our general notification letters in English and Spanish that go to all parents. And then there's also a call out. Most of our principals and also do a call out so that we capture all of that communication. And that would go out if there's a positive case on the campus. If there are close contacts identified in some way, we do a personal notification. The nurse or the principal will head that up, or the HR department will take care of that if it's our employees as well. And we also send a letter home detailing exactly what it is that a student can do to learn virtually temporarily. If they need the equipment to go home with them, they check it out in the office. The technology department and the principals head that up. And also just when they can return to campus safely. If there are updates, for example, if the student wasn't experiencing symptoms and then suddenly is experiencing symptoms, there's a communication piece so that they can update the campus for that, and there might be a new timeline established for the return. And that goes for our employees too. Our employees, a lot of our employees can telework, particularly our teachers and our paraprofessionals, and our supervisors just maintain those records and make sure that they have what they need as well to do that. We also, just the final piece of communication, we make sure that we comply and report all of our cases to the Texas Education Agency on a weekly basis. It goes into a reporting form, and also we report to the health department when needed. And that's another piece. If someone is on our campuses, we report that. Just an update on the COVID dashboard. That's just a way that we want to communicate again with our community and to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on for active cases as well as cumulative cases in the district. And those are cases since August 19th, and that was a deadline by TEA that they wanted all cases to be on, evident as of August 19th. So I just wanted to kind of say, just based on our numbers, while we would love to have 0 positive cases, it is a low number. Right now we're sitting at 8 cases throughout the entire district, and that's employees and students, everyone alike in all departments. Our highest active cases for a day at one time simultaneously has been 11. Oftentimes, though, as one comes on, one will be able to return back and is no longer active. But I would say that most of our days stay between 3 to 8, possibly, is maybe an average. Again, this includes our adults and students. So we're talking right now about 8 out of 8,132 individuals with students and adults added together. And if I did that math right, it's 0.09%. So, we're just really kind of looking at that. Like I said, our goal would be 0, all the time, and for us to do that. But the next thing just to kind of talk to you about is just mitigation strategies. Dr. Jackson touched on this, and I know Mr. Marler will too, but I just feel like our campuses and our departments have done an amazing job at making sure that they are maintaining the mask wearing. That's a mitigation factor. We've put in a lot of different things to, like some in the lunchroom, so that students aren't so close together. Our principals have really worked hard at scheduling and making sure that there's enough time for people to be in hallways and to try to reduce the traffic as much as possible, and also in the lunchroom. So there's just a lot of mitigation strategies. And again, this collaboration and brainstorming, if we hear about an idea, we talk about it and see how we can even improve our practices. The other mitigation strategy is nurses really have reported to me that the teachers and students are doing an excellent job of sanitizing the area between classes. Just in closing, I just want to make sure that you all know, I feel like we do have a very good system. Even talking to other districts will call us and see, what are y'all doing? Are there some things that, because your numbers seem low? And so I just feel like that's a great system, always room for improvement, and always looking to maintain a low number. We just continue to seek guidance from CDC and TEA and our public health department. We even have some infectious doctors that we talk to just to run some things by them at health department, and they're very helpful. And our COVID response team, just as well as all of our other principals and department heads, we're very dedicated and committed to making sure we provide the healthiest and safest environment for all of our students and staff. I just appreciate the time to come and visit with y'all, and I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Can you tell us who all is on this team?
Mr. Marler, Dr. Jackson, Adam, and Candace oftentimes is on our team, Mr. Clausen, and
Mostly our cabinet.
mostly our cabinet.
Okay. Awesome.
Angie is so serious about this. The superintendent of schools goes outside, sits in his car and sneezes, and then comes back in the building.
Well, I appreciate it. Anything we can do to help and support the vision of what we do here, even if it means the superintendent goes to his car. I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking.
I think the parents appreciate the dashboard too. I think that's a good piece of
Good.
information.
Good, thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all very much. I
appreciate
appreciate
you.
it. Yes, I appreciate you as well.
Okay, we'll move to item 9.
Well, we got to pick another piece to
Oh, I'm sorry, there's another oh, Lord, help us.
sanitizing.
Oh, gosh. I didn't say that. That wasn't me saying that.
Yeah, me and you both. A couple things that I wanted to touch on. We're still using the two basic chemicals. One is alcohol solution, 80%. The other one is Razor. It's a micro band that lasts. Those are the two that we're doing. All the campuses now have the backpack sprayers. They were sprayed after the election the other night. We had people around till about 1 o'clock in the morning. We had a couple campuses that had some issues, so they were walking around spraying to make sure everything was back to normal before the kids got back the next morning. Another thing that has been making the rounds that I want to make sure that you understand that we already do that here is the air conditioning. If you've noticed there's a couple papers and a couple articles that came through the state of Texas about air exchanges and air conditioning. Y'all did that with the bond.
Right.
We've had that since the 2005 bond. We fixed everything on the 2014 bond. The air exchanges that go through our schools, even with the outbuildings, are already taken care of. There's not even a campus that has those anymore. What you're looking for in that situation is like the Houston ISD schools that have the old hotel air conditioners and things that they have in that aspect. So we're already a part of that. That's all gone and taken care of that. Campuses we've added a Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon because of athletics and fine arts. As you know, fine arts went Saturday. We had to take care of that afternoon. Athletics has started games on Saturdays because of basketball, and then football is taking care of their own. They go through every day. They spray. I know y'all don't get to go into some of the locker rooms, but they're very clean. They don't smell like locker rooms. It's taken care of. Each one of the athletic facilities have that. Yes. Each one of the athletic facilities has a pump-up sprayer and access to a backpack sprayer.
Okay.
So those are taken care of.
Do you have enough staff to do all this?
No.
I mean, that's, okay.
They
That was a
are,
quick answer.
I have groups that come in after hours. I have groups that come back over on the weekends. We are not even close. Saturday we set up. I had 4 here at 7:30 so that we could switch from volleyball to basketball and get everything sprayed before and after. I've got people are working, but
Just doing some double time.
They're doing double time. We're shorthanded on.
And it's
on
been
the
that way all the way back to the end of spring.
Yeah, it's been that way.
And people comment. I mean, they are working themselves to death, and it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of taking care. The ones that are always there, they're always there. They're taking care of everything they need to do. Those are the two areas that really stand out, that everybody's really looking at. I can answer any other questions on those if you need to, if I need to, or if I need to speak on anything else of the COVID.
So you're saying the air conditioning system at the old Baker wouldn't be sufficient now?
No, that was inside plenum. That was an inside plenum. That would have been, we'd have been in bad shape over at Old Baker.
I know.
We've also stepped up filters.
Yes. And I'll touch on something that we had an issue with on buses. One of the issues that we stepped up the filters on inside the buildings, and we also did the filters for the buses. What we found on the new buses, it was not hurting the air conditioning, but it was creating a vacuum, and the water would not exit the bus after it had been riding for a while. So we had to make some adjustments. Some of them had to be removed, and we double filtered inside to make sure that those were clean, and then you can go, the kids were safe in there. A lot of those filters have been taken and retrofitted for ice makers, so we can use them on some.
Do we use HEPA filters?
So there is not a HEPA filter for a bus yet. Most of the new buses, the way it's set up, they were working on it. The last I checked, this was back in March. They were trying their best to make one. We had taken a MERV 13, put it together, had them actually make them for us. We taped it up over the intake. We were running with it. We didn't have any air conditioning problems with them, but we did have a vacuum that was doing that, and that's the only issue. But there is not for that. Our other side, we do have MERV 13 on a lot of our indoors, or it's doubled depending on where the air intake is, or if it's got we did that this year. That was upped. The price range really wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but it was an increase in price. We did that before we started back.
All right.
Anything else?
Anyone?
Good.
We appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna move on till you tell me.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, now we'll move to item 9. Return to learn proposal. Dr. Wadley?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Oops. Excuse me. There we go. Well, good evening again. This evening, we would like to share with you several thoughts that have gone into some deep conversations about our proposal to return to learn in January 6th of 2021. This evening, you will hear from 2 LaPorte ISD teachers from LaPorte Junior High, Ms. Michelle Jackson, and Bayshore Elementary teacher, Ms. Trina, she goes by Joy, Kozlowski. You will also hear from Mrs. Whitfield, Mrs. Anderson, and Mrs. Tilley. So we'll have several speakers tonight. As you can imagine, we have had multiple conversations about the many, many challenges that both our students and our teachers are experiencing as a result of face-to-face and virtual learning happening at the same time. We do have failure rates that are higher for our virtual students than our face-to-face students. And in all honesty, our teacher stress levels are at an all-time high due to the demands of instructing students at one time in both a virtual and a face-to-face environment. Currently, we have 75% of our students that are attending face-to-face. That's 5,225 students, and this was as of yesterday, as of November 9th. 25% are attending virtually. And while it's not about the grades, we are encountering secondary students that are failing one or more courses at 40%, and at elementary, 24%. And again, it is not entirely about the grades. What is more important is that we have our students that are learning foundational skills in reading and writing and mathematics. And when the students are in school, we have more control over the structure of that learning environment. That is not the case with the virtual learning environment. With that, I would like to transition to our teacher testimonials.
I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry, I just
Yes.
had a curious
Certainly.
question.
Yes, yes.
In a typical year, in a normal year pre-COVID, what would be our district failure rate? would be?
Failure rates, and you
About?
know,
I mean,
you-
not the exact number, just approximate by time.
you know, I couldn't tell you that today, but I can get back with you
Okay.
on that. What I can tell you is that right now, with 40% at secondary, and that's 6 through 12, with failure rates, our face-to-face is 26%. So it's quite a bit higher. But I'd be happy to get that information for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Jackson up to speak with you all. She is a teacher at LaPorte Junior High. After she speaks, Ms. Joy Kozlowski from Bayshore Elementary will come and speak to you all.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, Dr. Jackson and ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Michelle Jackson. I'm an 8th grade math teacher at LaPorte Junior. This year marks my 14th year in education, and I can honestly say it's the most challenging start to a school year, yet rewarding. When we left for spring break on March 6th, we could have never imagined the obstacles we would be facing in an already overworked and underappreciated profession. However, teachers, administrators, custodians, and all school personnel went to work to find solutions to educate and do the job that we love. Educators spent countless hours researching, learning, and creating in order to bring lessons to our students that were rigorous and engaging to ensure their success. When school began, we were so optimistic that the tools we had gathered and new skills we had acquired would create a dynamic learning environment. However, we quickly realized that those bright, smiling faces we expected to see were replaced with black screens and muted mics. It was not the engaging environment that we had hoped for and not what our students needed in order to be successful. When some of the students returned on September 8th, we welcomed them with open hearts, a bucket of sanitizing wipes, and eagerness to return to normalcy. Students were able to engage in two-way conversations, build relationships, and teachers were able to interact with students in order to gauge learning, all while having another group join virtually. Our hearts were very full. As we transitioned to a hybrid format with students attending both face-to-face and virtual, teachers were yet again faced with unprecedented tasks. The feelings of excitement quickly turns to feelings of being overwhelmed, defeated, frustrated, yet still holding on to hope. We are overwhelmed because what used to come so easy for many of us now has us feeling like rookies again. No longer can we quickly put together an engaging lesson that differentiates for all students, but we are now tasked with finding a way to make it virtual, adapt for no small groups, figure out how to do schoolwork with no pencil and paper, all while ensuring we're seen by both students virtually and face-to-face. Dismissing classes and welcoming the next period now had to include ending virtual meetings, starting new ones, ensuring that face-to-face students were dismissed orderly to enforce social distancing, making sure we were greeting incoming students at the door with dispensing sanitizing wipes, all within a 4-minute time period. The simplest things in a teacher's day were no longer so simple. We are defeated because no matter how hard we work, many of the students who are not face-to-face are struggling to keep up. We are giving 110% every day, and we are positive that not all our students are receiving it. We take pride in educating our students. When our students succeed, so do we. When they fail, so do we. Teachers have seen substantial increase in failure rates for virtual students, and we shoulder that failure. There are quite a few of my students who are already facing a mathematical impossibility to pass 8th grade math. How will these students who are not learning basic math pass exams to enter college or the workforce? We as educators not only teach content lessons, but try to instill our students college and work-life readiness. We aren't just failing them for English, math, science, and social studies, but we're failing them in life. We are frustrated because for many virtual students, education has not been a priority. Class time has been replaced with other activities. I personally have had students unable to attend class due to hair appointments, shopping with mom, vacations, and others I haven't seen or heard from at all. Some of the parents of students who are struggling the most have stopped answering our phone calls. We are spending countless hours trying to contact parents of virtual students who are failing that we have neglected that positive phone call to the parents of the students who worked so hard to get that passing grade, or to the parents of the student who did such a kind act for someone else. But despite the helpless feelings of being overwhelmed, defeated, and frustrated, we still remain hopeful. We're hopeful that we can have all our students back in class to begin to build those relationships and see their smiling faces. We're hopeful we can fill those academic and socio-emotional gaps to ensure that the students of LPISD are college and career ready, and hopeful that we can still make a difference for all of our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
My name is Joy Kozlowski, and I teach second grade at Bayshore Elementary. I'd like to start with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at a work worth doing. I have the best prize in teaching. I think that we can all agree that teaching is more than a profession, it is a calling. We are all used to giving more than 100% of our efforts and our energy for our students. And normally, it is sustainable and it's an effective situation. But right now, we're drawing on all of our creative reserves, and we're working long hours to plan and teach students, both face-to-face and virtually. And despite all of our efforts, at the end of the day, we are not feeling effective. Our students deserve to feel like we are completely present with them, but that is hard to do when you're juggling between being in the classroom and on a device. It's difficult to be completely present when you feel overwhelmed, ineffective, and guilty. I am a teacher. I believe in bell-to-bell teaching, organic teachable moments, and the power of collaboration. These things happen in the classroom, in the hallways when we wait in line for lunch, or when we're waiting for the bus. I feel like my virtual students are getting shortchanged, and my colleagues and I were racking our brains for solutions. Apps and online textbooks are great for practice and collecting data, but they do not replace teachers and collaborating with classmates. Khan Academy and Brain Pop are excellent resources for review, but they do not inspire students to be self-directed and self-motivated learners. I hope that I do that. I am a teacher, not a taskmaster. My job is to build relationships with my students and pique their curiosity in literature, math, science, and history. My job is to help them develop problem-solving skills. Teams check-in meetings, pre-recorded lessons, and a list of assignments, it's a to-do list. It teaches students to become finishers, not problem solvers. Problem-solving skills develop in our classrooms, where we explore, experiment, make mistakes, collaborate, and strategize together. I think all teachers want to help students become problem solvers because we know problem solvers are happier, they're healthier, and they're more successful. And problem solvers are more likely to find a fulfilling job that will be their best prize. And helping our students achieve that That's our goal, and I do not see how virtual instruction is helping to meet that goal. I feel like we're feeling ineffective and overwhelmed, and this depletes our energy and our motivation, and it's no longer a sustainable situation. I really appreciate y'all hearing me. I completely agree with Ms. Jackson. I am hopeful. I love the work that I do. I need all of my students that are on my roster in my classroom so I can give them all of me. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Powerful.
Hello, Ms. Whitfield.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much to Ms. Jackson and Ms. Kozlowski. We appreciate what you do for us. So I stand before you as the elementary director of education in this school district. But first and foremost, I am an educator. I am a teacher as well. And so I do want you to know that as I stand before you, my main goal in life right now is to make sure that we have a literate society. One of the things we know is that literacy is fundamental to learning. It is an important task that we all must ensure that our students receive. It's the essential foundation of education. You can't complete math, writing, social studies, and science without the ability to read, to have that overwhelming sense of comprehension, so that as you develop, as we want our children to do in schools and become adults, we want them to be able to problem solve, as the teacher stated. We want them to be able to make decisions on their own, and to complete all of those things, we know that literacy is that foundation. Some of our benefits of literacy. As we think about our literacy, we know that literacy promotes authentic engagement in the classroom. It reduces student retention, increases the chance of graduation from high school, and it improves the development and economic growth of our community. So when we think about what do we mean that literacy improves authentic engagement, one of the things the teacher stated tonight, and you heard over and over, that relationship, that building, those teachable moments. We know that early literacy in the primary grades, which would be our pre-K through our second grade, and even to some extent our third grade students, they are learning to read. However, when you transition to fourth grade and on, you are reading to learn. And if we don't ensure that our children can read at those lower levels, it's not about the grades, as Dr. Wadley stated, it's about ensuring that we are sending students on from third grade above who can read, who are literate, they can comprehend at whatever task they have set before them. Also, when we ensure that students have high literacy rates at the elementary level, we are ensuring that students may not be retained. Again, students can be retained all the way through 12th grade. They have a task in order to graduate, and that's to complete those EOCs in high school. I'm sure Mr. Grammer would appreciate that for us here tonight. But what we know is that if we send our students at the third grade level on as readers, their success rate for graduation improves. Think about that for the community of LaPorte. I want to live somewhere where I know that we have a literate society. We have students, we have children coming underneath us. I mean, we're all aging. I'm getting older as well. I started working in the district at 21. So I'm getting older as well. And I want to know that our system is producing literate, functioning individuals in this community. When we think about how are we going to actually improve our city, we think about development and economic growth. When you think of literate and literate populations, literate societies, those populations have the ability to address nutrition and health in the community. They can also help to reduce poverty in our community. And one of the things we've noted, as several of you have said on the board, we've seen those low socioeconomic numbers grow in LaPorte's community. And we want to ensure that we continue to support our citizens by ensuring that our school system produces literate students. When we think about creating wealth, that literacy, that ability to move forward, whether, and I know Ms. Tilley's coming up, but whether it's a career, it's college, it's military, we have an obligation to all of these students and all of those extensions in our community. We want our environment to be sustainable. Without, again, that knowledge of reading to learn from 4th grade all the way through 12th grade, we can't sustain our community. This community thrives on industry. And so that is something that we need to ensure that we're successful in doing for our students. And finally, we know that literacy can provide moving our community forward. As we think about it, our teachers have expressed today, they miss that authentic engagement. Learning at the primary levels how to read, how to decode, how to comprehend, how to take text and then explore. Because that's what it's all about. Reading takes you where you need to go in life. And so we know that literacy, I stand before you and tell you that literacy is the backbone of LaPorte ISD as well as the community of LaPorte. And so it is critical that we have our students in place in January if we're able to, here, learning with these classroom teachers, doing what it takes to master that literacy component. And so, you know, when we're asked, how are we going to sustain this? You've heard tonight several reports, heard from various members of our cabinet, and when we think about our students, we do think about them. We keep them in mind, and we know that we have students who may not be able to return to January due to different types of constraints. And so Ms. Anderson will come before us and talk about those types of constraints and how we plan on addressing them. Sorry, Ms. Anderson. Sorry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening.
I'm Ms. Anderson.
Hello there. So while we can't wait for our students to get back to LaPorte, we do recognize that some of them are medically fragile and have underlying health conditions. And TEA defines a medically fragile student as a special ed student from birth to 21 who has an ongoing condition that is serious. They may need to use assistive technology or a device that would replace a loss of a function that they have. And it is threatening to their well-being. In LaPorte, we actually only have 7 of these medically fragile students. 4 of them are on homebound, 2 of them are learning virtually, and 1 of them is already back face-to-face. Now, there are other students who have other health impairments, and many of these are documented with our nurses with an individual health plan. And this would be your asthmatic, diabetic, and other health conditions. We have 479 of those students. And currently 71% of them are already back learning face-to-face.
Give me that number again, please, Cindy.
Yes,
479?
479, 71% are back face-to-face.
Thank you.
No problem. So when we sent out the parent survey, we got 1,123 responses. Of those responses, 13% said that their child did have an underlying health condition, while 87%, 982, said their child did not have an underlying health condition. Another reason we are wanting our students back is for their social and emotional well-being. We've heard from the American Pediatric Association about students' mental health and wellness, and being isolated at home is not what's best for them. Being at school, socializing, and learning with their peers is extremely important. So we have constructed a medical evaluation that would go, the parents would take it to their child's physician, and they would fill this out to state that it is.
Your time is up, I'm sorry.
Their physician would state whether or not they felt that the student indeed needed to be learning from home. Learning from home is our most restrictive environment. And so a lot of the physicians, when asked, do not agree with their child staying at home and being isolated. So this would provide us the opportunity to be able to speak with the physician and help plan and come up with a plan for the child that does need to stay home and get them a good learning good learning plan. So Ms. Tilly is going to further elaborate on those learning plans.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Hello, Ms. Tilly.
Hello, good evening. To piggyback off of what Ms. Whitfield just shared, we are all educators, and we know that our role is to do what we need to do to make sure that our teachers and our students have the environments that they need in order to be successful. We have currently, right now, our teachers, as Ms. Kozlowski and I say that, I hope I said that right, Ms. Jackson both shared, we are teaching in a concurrent model. This is one where the teachers are delivering the instruction simultaneously with their face-to-face students and their virtual students. The challenge here also is, though, that we also are an asynchronous district. You guys approved that, and that allows our virtual students to be able to do their studies on Teams, but they have until 11:59 p.m. to get that turned in. So when we say we have a concurrent model, that doesn't necessarily mean that our virtual students are actually engaged with the teacher at that moment. And as our teachers shared with you, I mean, I think I can say a lot of things, but I think that what their words that they shared with you were telling, that they're giving 110%. They are balancing their instructional day with their face-to-face students as well as with their virtual. And while I would love to think that all of our kids are sitting with their feet flat on the floor just craving to be taught, we know that there's redirection going on. There is a little nudging here and there to get their students engaged. When we speak to students, I've had the good fortune to speak to a lot of our students, and one of the things that our students, our face-to-face students, share is that they wish that they could have the full attention of their teacher. We've even had some teachers, sadly, that have reported to us that parents that were in the virtual setting scolded the teacher during the class about not returning their email or their phone call the evening before. And so, I mean, as we talk about morale for our teachers, this trickles down. Good, happy teachers also make good, happy students, and so I feel like in our role, we are trying to find ways that we can, give our kids the absolute optimal learning environment and to be successful. I could go on and on. I could say Ms. Jackson and Ms. Kozlowski touched my heart, and we didn't. We just said, they just touched my heart. I have my tissue right here. We are looking at, in January, our students being face-to-face. And as Ms. Anderson just shared, we do have a plan for what to do, because we do have some students that probably cannot be face-to-face. We do not propose to continue with a concurrent model, though, just because the stress would not be any less. So there's two different options that we're looking at, and possibly one for, they both will work for different needs on our campuses. The split scheduling model is where, especially like the secondary, you have a teacher teaches 6 class periods. And so they might teach one class period virtually, one class period face-to-face, but it would not be a concurrent simultaneous model. It would be either or. And then we have the split staffing model, which is where teachers would be from one side, one campus, or from the district, would either be the virtual teacher or they would be the face-to-face teacher. There again, it would be either but not both. So we wanted to bring this, and this is just kind of a quick overview to you, the board, so that you could be reflective about what you've heard from all of us, and we want to stand for questions. We really believe that it's time to invite those 25% back to school, and we want them back, and we want them with loving arms. We just need our kids back. And we want them to know that we want to do what we need to do so that they can feel safe. Do you have any questions, guys, for any of us?
Lots. But I don't think we can really. It's a dilemma. I mean,
It is a dilemma.
I mean, and looking at the choices that you've got up there, based on everything our two teachers told us tonight and what we've been hearing from teachers and what you hear from teachers, I mean, honestly, I can't see how any of the three of those are going to solve the problem. It might be it seems like it may be the only opportunity, but I mean, in the end, you still have teachers who will have no relationship, who will have no way to get in touch, to really teach those students. And maybe there are enough teachers that would volunteer to do that. I don't know. And then the split scheduling just seems like another whole nightmare in itself, because they're going to be expected to be two separate people. And I don't think that's going to relieve anybody's stress. Now, all that said, I certainly don't have a solution at this point, other than the fact that I believe we have to learn to live with this situation. It isn't going to go away. I think after 10 months, we've all figured out it's not going to go away. But we can learn to control it, I believe, and not let it control us. And, I mean, I just feel like kids need to be back in school. Too many of them in my neighborhood are in packs, posses, walking around, not doing anything. I mean, that's their idea of virtual school. I mean, it's not good for the community. It's not good for the state or the country or anybody. And I haven't really said anything to offer a solution. I wish I had one.
Me too.
I know.
The thing about the split scheduling is the teacher is still prepping and having a plan for both the face-to-face and the virtual, and that is very time-consuming. And that's one of the
Absolutely.
things
Yes.
with the teachers. And so I'm not really in favor of that. That really doesn't lessen the load on the teachers. Have you seen any feedback as far as the system itself, Microsoft Teams, from teachers, and how that's going in and of itself as far as the use of that?
Nothing, we haven't surveyed them, just engaged in conversations, and of course, Ms. Whitfield and I meet regularly, if you want, we meet weekly with our principals, and, I mean, like any technology, it has some real big strengths, and then the day that it doesn't work, it is an ever-loving nightmare, But one of the amazing things, and I know one day this last week, Microsoft Teams, it was system-wide, not LaPorte, it was the world, was having an issue. And man, I couldn't get over, and I happened to be sitting in a classroom, I couldn't get over how quickly the teachers were shifting to getting emails out to their students, that they were doing it all on OneDrive at that point. I mean, since March, the knowledge and the ability to teach with all of this technology is just amazing. Does it have its hiccups? Yes. Is it ideal? No. But I mean, as Ms. Jackson said, they give 110%, and they have made it work.
Oh, I believe.
We've observed some really amazing things.
Thank you.
I think I'd share that virtual learning probably works best when home is giving the exact amount of energy that the school is giving. And while we're not here to bash home at all, because parents at home have their own challenges, their own sets of challenges. They're juggling kids and trying to work from home themselves. But probably most of the issues that we're dealing with is you've got a teacher in the classroom trying to give it, but we've got maybe 20-30% of that engagement from the home. And so whether it's Microsoft Teams or Google Classrooms, it won't matter if it's not reciprocated equally. And so therein lies part of that other issue. And I'll echo what Board Member Green just said. I'm quick to go get a sandwich from Kroger or something at lunchtime, and I run into the stores, and there are kids everywhere. And I'm quick to ask, where do you go to school? And they're LaPorte kids, So now they kind of run from me, when they see me in the 7-Eleven getting, food, because I'm asking them, where do you go to school? But my point is, I'm not saying all of these kids are not being supervised, but a great many of them are kind of not on task like a child that is in school. And I think if we're not careful, and this is not for this board, this is for our country and our communities all over the nation. If we're not careful, we're going to wake up and we're going to see a society that has so many gaps, and we know what the gaps mean. The gaps mean more poverty. And so there is no pressure there. Our job tonight was simply to educate not only our board, but our community. Our community can hear this as well. We want to make certain that we lay the case that something serious is going on. When we brought our Return to Learn plan back in June to the board, July, we didn't think for a moment that we would still be here in November. It was a temporary plan, right, to get us back to school. And so, I know somebody's probably thinking, well, why didn't y'all think of these things? Because we didn't know. We just never thought in a million years we'd still be here 10 months in. And so I know, board, this is a very, very tough one. And we're not asking you to do anything tonight, but just reflect on this. But our job is to really lay the case and to lay the data out there and hopefully even convince our community that something needs to be drastically done, because we're headed to a seismic shift of what learning looks like. And God loved those little kids. If a pre-K or kid or a first grade kid is not in school, they're not learning phonemic awareness and how linguistically how to read and how to make sound words. That is the building blocks, and you've already said that. That's the building blocks of learning. And we are destining some of our students to poverty and to a life that America has promised better for us. And so the tough choices, that's why we have a board and a superintendent and a district. That's why we're here, is to make very difficult choices about what needs to happen for the future of this community. So I appreciate you all for what y'all did tonight as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley.
Thank you all.
Okay, we will move to item 10. Public hearing for the district's financial integrity rating system of Texas first for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Ms. Cumby? So since it's a public hearing, I guess we can open it at 7:14.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Gotcha. 7:14.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Cumby, before you start, I just want to remind everyone that this is a public hearing, and after Ms. Cumby's presentation, we will open up for any questions or comments from the galley.
Okay, this is Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, was adopted during the 2001 legislature. It started with the 2003 year, beginning with the 2001-2002 fiscal year. So it's lagging. Like, we're going to talk about the audit for 1920. We're in the year 2021, but this is the first rating for 1819. TA implemented changes effective 2006 and 7, and there were also more changes made in the 13-14 legislative year. It expands the public education accountability system in Texas to the financial services. So we've always had ratings for academic performance. Now this added for financial. It's the 18th year, and the primary goal is to achieve quality performance in the management of each school district's financial resources, a goal made more significant due to the complexity of accounting associated with Texas school finance system. Previously, there were 20 indicators. It went down to 7. Now there's 15, with 5 not being scored. I'm not sure the logic behind that, but it will change again next year. Previously, each district was assigned 1 of 4 ratings: superior, above standard, standard, or substandard achievement.
For 13-14 school year, they did 2 ratings, pass or fail. Not sure why they did that, except maybe they were moving it toward the letter grades, which really has the same meaning, but it more falls along the academic lines. So now it's A, B, C, and F, which A is superior, B is above standard, C meets standard, and F is substandard achievement. So it didn't really change a whole lot, but now we have letter grades. For a district to pass, they must receive a score of at least 70, plus they have to answer yes to indicators 1, 3, 4, and 2A. If you answer no to any one of those indicators, you're going to fail. LaPorte ISD received a score of 90. The max possible is 100, like normal grading, and answered yes to those 4 indicators. So this is kind of an overall look at the state. So there's 1,020 districts that are rated. Doesn't include charters. Charters have their own first rating. And 895 of those got superior, with 4.8 million students represented in those numbers. 94% of the enrollment and 87% of the districts got superior. Okay, now I'm going to go through each of the 15 minus number 5, it's not rated, and then a couple of other management things, and then we'll be done. I'll try to go fast. I'm just going to read these and move forward. Was the complete annual financial report and data submitted to TEA within 30 days of the November 27th or January 28th deadline, depending on the school district's fiscal year, end of June 30th or August 31st, respectively? Yes. Our financial report, we have a junior in, so it's due in by November 27th. Our audit was done November 19th and approved by the board, and on November 20th it was submitted to TEA. Review of the annual financial report for an unmodified opinion and material weaknesses. The school district must pass this indicator. Was there an unmodified opinion in the annual financial report on the financial statements as a whole? And to B, did the external independent auditor report that the AFR annual financial report was free of any instances of material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting and compliance for local, state, or federal funds? And we answered yes to both of those. We had an unmodified opinion and it was free of material weaknesses. Was the school district in compliance with the payment terms of all debt agreements at fiscal year end? And yes, the district was in compliance with all payment terms of all debt agreements at fiscal year end. Did the school district make timely payments to the Teachers Retirement System, Texas Workforce Commission, Internal Revenue Service, and other government agencies? And yes, the district made timely payments to all government agencies. 5 is not scored. Was the number of days of cash on hand and current investments in the general fund for the school district sufficient to cover operating expenditures, excluding facilities acquisition and construction, which would be bond money? So it's not looking at bond money.
Right.
And 90 days is what you should have, and we had 161 days. Was the measure of current assets to current liabilities ratio for the school district sufficient to cover short-term debt? This one we didn't score 10 on. We were, the scoring is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, and we had a 6. The current assets to current liabilities ratio must be a 3 or above to receive the highest ranking of 10, and ours was 2.2691. Was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the school district sufficient to support long-term solvency? And this we scored a 4 out of 10 on. The ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets must be below 0.6 to receive a 10. And this as well as 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's nothing in between those. And our ratio is 0.8683. Did the district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures? And if not, was the school district's number of days on cash on hand greater than or equal to 60? So we met both of those. You have to meet one or the other, but our general fund revenues exceeded our expenditures, and we had 161 days of cash on hand. And here, this rating is 60 days, where the other one we just talked about was 90 days. Was the debt service cover ratio sufficient to meet the required debt service? Yes, the ratio must be above 1.2, and we are at 1.2081. Was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold ratio? Yes, we got a 10 on that as well. The district's administrative cost ratio was 0.0865, and it has to be below 0.1. Did the school district not have a 15% decline in the student-to-staff ratio over 3 years? Or if enrollment did not decrease, and our enrollment's been decreasing, so we have to have at least not more than a 15% decline in student-to-staff ratio. The school district did not have that. The percentage change for the district was 5.81, so we were well below 15%. Did the comparison of PEIMS data, Public Education Information Management System, information on the annual financial report that's submitted to TEA have less than a 3% variance? And yeah, ours was a 0 variance. I mean, if you count it out, there's like a 0.00000 something, but it was basically 0. Did the external independent auditor report that the annual financial report was free of any instances of material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting and compliance for local, state, and federal funds? Yes, our annual financial report was free of any instances of material weaknesses in internal controls over financial reporting and compliance for local, state, or federal funds. Did the school district not receive an adjusted repayment schedule for more than 1 fiscal year for an overallocation of foundation school program funds as a result of financial hardship? And of course, we did not. So our rating is superior, which was the highest rating which we've gotten for the past 18 years. This just tells you where they're found in the code, and that's also in the board backup. So some things that we're required to post as well with the first report, other than those indicators, is the superintendent's contract, which is posted in the board book. The reimbursements received by the superintendent and board members for fiscal year 2020. And this is Superintendent Graham, Superintendent Jackson, and then each board member, and the amounts that was spent. Now, this is spent on basically travel, so it's meals, hotel, registration fees, and any kind of mileage reimbursement or taxi, travel, airfare, anything like that. So Superintendent Graham was $10,885. Superintendent Jackson was $195. Board Member Green was $1,744.64. Board Member Yonda was $1,502.78. Board Member Rogerson was $1,456.20. Board Member Slate was $890. Board Member Thompson was $1,117.98. Board Member Wallace was $3,375.12, and Board Member Wheeler was $709.88. Also have to, any outside compensation from the superintendent, and that was no. And for Dr. Jackson, no, not while he's been working here, because he was at another district. Gifts received by the executive officers and board members and first-degree relatives, if any, in fiscal year 2020, and there were none reported on. Those are reported through the conflict of interest questionnaire that goes out. Business transactions between the school district and board members for fiscal year 20, and there was none of those either. So that's all I have. I'm going to leave here for anybody to make public comments, or if you all have any questions, and I'll stand to answer.
Thank you, Ron.
Anybody, any questions or comments? Anyone out in the galley have anything to add, ask, say? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cundy.
Excellent job, as always.
Yes, ma'am, we'll close at 7:25.
Gotcha.
And we will now move to item 11, consent agenda. Ms. Green, are you with me on this?
I'm with you.
All right. Item B, approve board meeting minutes, regular board meeting minutes for October 13th, 2020. Item C, receive principals' reports for Early Childhood Center, Bayshore Elementary, College Park Elementary, Heritage Elementary, Jenny Reed Elementary, LaPorte Elementary, Leo A. Rizzuto Elementary, Lomax Elementary, James H. Baker 6th grade campus, LaPorte Junior High, Lomax Junior High, LaPorte High School, Viola DeWalt High School, and LaPorte ISD DAEP. Item D, receive financial reports for October 2020. Item E, receive human resources report. Item F, approve budget amendment.
Can we pull that, please?
Item G, approve 2020-2021 district improvement plan and campus improvement plans. Item H, approve 2020-2021 staff development minutes waiver. Item I, approve the purchase of laptop computers. Item J, consider adoption of a resolution number 2020-17, amending the amount for committed fund balance for the year ending June 30, 2020. Ms. Green, would you like to read those back?
Yes, okay, reading back the consent items, that would be consent items B, C, D, E, G, H, I, and J. And individual items pulled were F.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Thompson and Ms. Green. So I'll call names again.
Oh, because he's
Since we're kind of out of whack here.
okay.
Ms. Wheeler, can you hear me? Yes. Could you vote yes or no? I think that was a yes, wasn't it? Okay. Mr. Yonda?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
And a yes for myself. Where's Candace? Oh, there she is. Okay. Thanks, Board. Okay, we will move back up to item F, approved budget amendment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Thompson?
Second.
Ms. Green?
Okay.
Comments? Questions?
Rhonda, this, on this budget amendment, and am I understanding this properly, that this is movement out of accounts to account for COVID-related expenses?
Right, so we're moving money out of our utilities in Function 51 that we have in excess of what we are anticipating our needs being this year into accounts for our hotspot devices and phones that are sent out due to COVID for our students and any staff that are using them.
So $121,037 is the estimate that we're going to spend on that, or is that just in addition to what we've already spent?
No, that's the estimate.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know if it was, if we were moving it in anticipation of labor because of, to Corey's point about the staff. It's
No.
all equipment.
Yes, it's for the hotspots and those kind of things related to COVID.
Okay.
And none was budgeted for because we weren't anticipating having that cost going forward.
Right.
So we're covering those costs. And then when we get toward the end of the year, if we have a shortfall, then we'll come back with an additional budget amendment. But currently, we think we'll be able to absorb most of those costs.
And none of this is reimbursable from the federal,
Not
the
at
stuff
this
that the
point.
state kept
Not
that they
now.
should have sent to us anyway that they didn't, but.
So we've had some reimbursement.
Oh, good.
And we also had some devices, and I can't tell you all the details of them, but at this point, we're not. And hopefully, they'll come forward at some point to give us some more money, but right now,
Yes.
that's not the case.
But hopefully also at the end of the year, I may be wrong, Rhonda, but there may be a reconciliation of some of this where we can come back, right?
Okay, okay, good. Thank you, Rhonda, for that explanation.
Any other questions? Comments? Well, let's vote. Ms. Wheeler? That was a yes. Mr. Yonda?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
And yes for myself. In case anyone was wondering, Ms. Wheeler is using a button to touch that gives a yes or a no answer. So that's why it sounds robotic. Okay, so we will now move to action items and or discussion items. A, discuss proposed HB3 board outcome goals. And I think
Mr. President, could we move to table that until next meeting so we can do it with our new board, please?
Yes, ma'am. Do we have a second?
So moved.
Great, okay. So we will move item A to the 17th.
I think we need a vote on, I think the vote
Do we have to vote to table it?
Because we just make a motion.
Do we have to
Yes.
vote to table?
We
Okay.
have vote.
You didn't really need to vote, until you made the motion. Now that you've got a motion, you probably
Yeah.
need to vote.
What'd you say, Chris? I'm sorry?
I said you didn't really need the motion in the first place, but now that you have one on the table and it's been seconded, you probably need to vote on it.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we will vote on moving it, tabling this to November 17th. Ms. Wheeler? That was a yes. Mr. Yonda?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
And yes for myself. Good. Thank you, Board. Thanks, Chris. Move to item B, approve the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended June 30, 2020. Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Thompson?
Second.
Ms. Thompson and Mr. Yonda. Discussion.
We have a presenter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here we go.
Stephanie Harris with
I was listening to the
Bell
conversation
Harris
up
and
here and I wasn't even
Bahachik
looking.
is here
I'm
to
sorry.
make
Thank
a
you.
presentation.
Throw something at me next time, okay?
Good evening. Again, Stephanie Harris, one of the partners with Bell Harris Bahachik. It is my pleasure tonight to present for you some highlights from the district's comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020. Page 17 of that document includes our official report to the board. Very pleased to say that we are issuing a clean, unmodified opinion on the district's financial statements. Unmodified being the highest level of assurance we can provide that the financial statements are materially correct and that all required disclosures have been included. With that, page 33 of that document includes a statement of net position, again for the district at June 30th, 2020. This particular presentation is on the full accrual basis of accounting, simply meaning that we have picked up all of the district's long-term assets as well as your long-term liabilities, and I'm going to round these numbers for presentation purposes. At the end of the year, the district ended the year with total assets of just over $496.4 million. Total liabilities of just over $460.3 million. You concluded the 2020 year with an overall positive ending net position of just over $41 million, of which approximately $27.1 represents the district's investment in its long-term assets. Page 35 is a sideways presentation of a traditional income statement. This statement is also on the full accrual basis of accounting, so it has some non-cash type items recognized, such as depreciation expense on the district's capital assets. For the 2020 fiscal year, the district incurred just over $163.3 million to provide all the services. You had direct charges for services of just over $1.3 million. Operating grants and contributions of $9.6 million, and these numbers do include on behalf revenue from the state for pension and OPEB benefits. You concluded the year with a net expense of $152.2 million. After general revenues that can be used to finance all of your district functions, which primarily include property tax as well as foundation revenue, you had a net increase for the year of just over $7.3 million. Turning your attention to page 40 and 41, this is a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the district's governmental funds. This particular presentation is on a modified accrual basis of accounting, or the same basis by which you annually review and adopt the district's general fund budget. Total revenues for the year were just over $167.4 million. You had total expenditures, which would include capital outlay as well as debt service, of $163.2 million. After the issuance of some bonds as well as interfund transfers, you had an overall increase in your fund balance of just over $35 million. If you were to try to look back at page 40 and see where those increases were, a significant portion was in the capital projects fund of $22.8 million, which did include the issuance of debt for various capital improvements, as well as the district's general fund with an increase of just over $14 million. You did have additional state aid paid, as well as a reduction in Chapter 41 recapture cost. I also would like to note that your ending fund balance of $54.3 million was a very healthy ending fund balance at the end of the year. This represented approximately 50%, or 5.5 months of operating expenditures. And again, the rule of thumb would be approximately 25% or 3 months. We did also conduct a single audit as a result of the district having federal grant expenditures in excess of $750,000. If you're interested, in the back of the document on page 183, you will find a schedule of all of the district's federal grant programs. Also very pleased to say that we are issuing a clean, unmodified opinion on the district's compliance with its federal grant programs. With that, that concludes my remarks. I would also like to recognize Rhonda and the entire business office. They do an incredible job. We too have no material weaknesses to report to you through the form of a management letter this year. And I also would just like to recognize the district for its commitment to quality. Not only are you unique in that you present a comprehensive annual financial report, but the district also submits its financial statements to 2 different award organizations, one for governmental financial statements and the second for school districts. And you have received both those awards for the 2019 fiscal year, and the district does plan to submit for 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you.
Board, have any comments?
No, thank you so much, Ms. Harris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great news.
Yes. Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, Charleston?
It's still going on.
No, we didn't. I don't think we did. No. I'm reading. I was reading your text, Charleston. Well, that was from you?
Yes.
Oh. It's not on there, is it?
We didn't do the resolution. There's 3 of them. Right.
We did. We did.
You read those off, Kat. Oh, no, we haven't
Because we
voted on
have a
B.
motion on the table for B, we need to approve that.
There we go. We have a motion on the table for B.
We did vote on it, didn't we?
No. No.
She just presented.
Okay. All right. Ms. Wheeler? We vote yes or no? Yes. Mr. Yonda?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
And yes for me. I'm sorry. I got out of line. You threw me, Kathy, with all
I
that.
know, I'm sorry. I
That's okay.
apologize.
I have to blame it on someone.
No, I apologize.
It's okay. Now we'll move to item C. And I think Mr. Yonda's going to read the revised.
Now, did you want to read the agenda item first?
No, that's not what I was told.
Okay. Go.
Thank you.
Okay. On item C, a move to adopt order authorizing the issuance of LaPorte Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2020, setting certain parameters for the bonds, authorizing the superintendent and/or chief financial officer to approve the amount, the interest rate, price, including the terms thereof, and certain other procedures and provisions related thereto.
Do we have a
Second?
motion?
Is that the motion?
Yeah, that was the motion.
Okay, then I'll second.
Okay.
Sorry, we're
And
all
I
getting
think
out of
we
order
have
here.
a presenter.
Yeah.
I got that
Doug
one
Witt,
right.
our financial advisor from Samco, and Tom Sage, our bond counsel, is also here as well.
Yes, and
from
just for the
Andrews Group.
record, Tom Sage is responsible for that lengthy agenda item. He is your bond attorney, and I'm here tonight to show you the financial report. So I think we've passed that out earlier. It's not on the screen, but it's here. So we're here to do the preliminary bond refunding analysis and authorization to proceed with the refunding. So on the first page here, you'll see the bond buyer's index of municipal bonds. To the far right of the graph, you'll see a number, 2.34%. That's our current index for this national index of municipal bond interest rates. To put that in perspective, the average dating back to the bottom left corner of January of 2001 is a 4.2% average, and we're down at the 2.34% range. This is basically record low interest rate environment that we're in. And then if you look at the top of the graph back in 2008, that's when we hit the high of this particular index at 6%. So again, average at a 420, high at a 6%, and current levels in the 230 to 250 range. So if you look at the next page, it's important for, 28 years in the business, for 25 of them, basically we looked only at tax-exempt interest rates because that was the market that we had access to. In 2017, the law changed to where we cannot do refundings in advance of a call date on a tax-exempt basis. It must be done with taxable bonds. So now we track both the Permanent School Fund AAA taxable curve and the Permanent School Fund AAA tax-exempt yield curve. And what we look at here is, of course, the tax-exempt blue interest rates are less than the interest rates for those who have to pay taxes on the investment, which is shown in red, but it's a relatively narrow interest rate spread, if you will. This does change daily, so we track this quite often, but generally speaking, low interest rate environment, low differential between tax-exempt and taxable rates. So now we go to the next page, which is a look at your outstanding principal and interest payments. You have a very, very nice payment profile, very flat and level from 21 to 2031. Then you have the first drop off in 2032, and then the second drop off in 2036. So as you have this very flat payment schedule, and each color represents one series of bonds, but they aggregate into a profile for your interest and sinking fund budget account. So as you flip to the next page, knowing that your payment stream has been level to slightly declining, as your tax base has grown in column 2 from the $5.7 billion range in each and every year up to $10 billion in 18-19, $11.7 billion in 19-20, and $12.2 billion approximately in 2021. Your interest in sinking fund or debt service or voted bond tax rate is shown in column 5, has actually come down from the 41-cent range to the 23-cent range at the bottom of column 5. So flat payment schedule, increasing tax base, and tax rate reduction. In column 7 is your INS fund balance. I'm not sure what the number was tonight, but we have it approximately $4.4 million. And this is a very sound, very healthy level for that payment profile that you saw on the prior page. It's not too much, it's not too little. At one point, it had grown to $11 million. You purposefully used that for help to the maintenance and operating side, so a very good use. You didn't transfer it there, but you utilized it for a temporary change in your budget shown in the 18-19 year. So with that, we go to the next page. And this is what we monitor as ongoing debt management for our Texas school districts. And this is your approaching optional redemption call dates. And so again, when you look at the far right column, it says available to refund on a tax-exempt basis. We cannot do that under current law until we get to that call date within 90 days. So we look at your optional redemption call dates as the middle column. So the 2010B Build America bond is callable February 15, 2020. Well, this is a bond that we don't want to call, or we don't want to refinance, or we don't want to refund because it is a Build America bond in which the interest cost is being paid by the federal government. And in this district, where we're subject to recapture and things like that, that is money that can go back to the maintenance and operating side, so there's no reason to refund that. It actually helps your budget and helps the district. So then we go to 2012 refunding bond, the second line item. This is already a refunding. That optional redemption call date is February of 22. In the far right column, it's subject to tax-exempt refunding in October of 2021, and it's $30.9 million. It's relatively short, only 10 years left on the amortization, and again, this is a bond that does not provide savings, so it's not the bond that we're talking about today. It is possible, but that this time next year, in October of '21, we're talking about doing something with this bond. It could be leave it as is, it could be refinance it, or it could be pay some of it off early, because again, you have a flat debt service profile and an increasing tax base that creates extra cash in the INS fund that we might just want to pay down on some of that principal rather than refinance it, okay? So then the one highlighted in yellow is the one we're here to talk about tonight. It's 2014 school building bond. It's $76 million that's outstanding. The maturities that are subject to optional redemption are 2025 through 2039, and the call date is August 15, 2024. So here in 20, we still have 4 years. We'll roll over into January of 21. We'll have basically 3.5 years. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule here in terms of the distance between today and that optional redemption call date. But we want you to authorize the administration to work with us to put ourselves in a position that is, if we turn the year, if we can do the transaction, that we can do it in a very expedient manner. And so if we don't do it, there's no harm, no foul to the district. We have 12 months under Tom's order that he has created for you, that you have on the agenda. We have 12 months to perform the refunding, and it may be done in January. It may not be done 12 months from now. If it's not, we'll come back and give another report, put another order on the agenda, and we have, again, 3.5 years between now and 2024 to perform this refunding for interest cost savings. The 2014 below that is very small, again, not on the table today, and then we get into refunding bonds and building bonds that are further out in 25. This is a conversation that we will be having periodically over the next 5 years, basically, as we move forward. So with that, there are some things that we do analytically that go into, do we do a refunding today? Do we do a refunding tomorrow in the future? So for example, one thing that we need to be aware of is that legislation at the federal level can change. We could get in January a proposed bill that reinstates tax-exempt advance refundings. And so we need to monitor that. That's one of the things that will be on the table beginning January 1st of 2021. The next thing is the interest rate market, which I just talked about. We have very low market, and we have very narrow spreads between tax-exempt and taxable. You have plenty of outstanding call dates, so this isn't just a one-shot opportunity. So there's no restriction there. You have multiple call dates that provide for multiple flexibility over time. And then the level of interest cost savings. One thing here between the level of interest cost savings and this fancy term that's on here, and I'll spare you the 30-minute workshop on the term negative arbitrage. But all I will say is that there is an advantage. The closer we get to 2024, there's a mathematical efficiency that occurs getting closer to that date. And we must analyze with your staff the trade-off between gain of efficiency over time and market conditions over time. So when we do this for your district with a 2024 call date, we're going to set a very high benchmark for ourselves to achieve, knowing that we may achieve it tomorrow, or we may achieve it 12 months from now, or we may achieve it 2 years from now. But we don't want to just take savings at this level because we can get it today. We want to measure what we should be able to get and get the best bang for the buck that we can. We only have one opportunity to get it right. And so we set ourselves a very high bar and not a low bar in terms of what we need to achieve. So with that, that's the 30-second version of the 30-minute presentation. On the next page is the preliminary bond refunding analysis. The type of refunding that is shown today would be an advance refunding. That is a technical term under federal tax law, an advanced taxable refunding of the 2014 school building bonds. Again, the call date is August of 24. The maturities are 25 to 2039. It's $76 million, and the interest rates on the bonds to be refunded are 4 to 5% with an average of 4.68. And the savings that are illustrated here would show an average rate of 2.11 on the refunding bonds. So we're replacing higher interest rate bonds with lower interest rate bonds, and on page 9 is this benchmark that we're setting for ourselves, which again is a very high benchmark. So it's 14 million of interest cost savings on a $76 million refinancing, and that's a very large amount of savings that we're looking at. So with that said, if it takes us a little bit of time to get to that benchmark, be patient with us, and we'll come back and we'll report over time. And then on the next page shows you kind of how we want to take the savings. What do we need in terms of advantage when we get $14 million of potential savings? And basically, again, in blue, you have this flat payment structure dropping off in 32 and 36. You're easily paying your 2021, 22, and 23 payments. In fact, your tax rate has been declining over time. So we think the savings structured for the years 25 through 31, and then again 32 through 39, provide an additional drop-off in that payment stream that puts you in a great position in the future to take advantage of that whenever you may have additional capital needs or facility needs that you need to address. So that's the structure of the savings, and then the motion has already been made on the back page. And again, Tom Sage and his team created the order and the additional documents that you have before you, including the opinions that these would be issued in accordance with state law. Tom, would you like to add anything to the presentation?
Again, Tom Sage with Huntington's Growth. I'm throwing my mask all over the place. It's a pleasure to see you all this evening. Doug's covered this very well, but your approval this evening is all that's required to pursue this transaction for the next 12 months and authorize the superintendent, Ms. Cumbie, to effectuate the transaction when it occurs. Again, pleasure to see you all, and just separately and apart, and usually I don't do things like this, but we go to a lot of school board meetings. I don't know that I've ever seen a team speak as passionately about teaching students as I saw tonight, so congratulations on what you have here.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
It was very powerful. I
Thank
agree.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's always good to see you. Do we have any questions or comments?
No, sir, not for me.
Okay, well, let's vote. Ms. Wheeler? That's a yes. Mr. Yonda?
Yes.
Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
And a yes for me. All right, I think that just about puts us to the end of this thing, doesn't it?
Yep, no action on Thursday.
All right. Thanks again, everyone, for sticking with us, and appreciate you every day. We appreciate everything that you do every day. So just keep on keeping on. We'll call it at 7, was it 54?